What's the cure for getting off of the streets? Is it an arrest? Is it a scared straight moment? No, it's moving in with your dad. Let's tell that story.
My story. How'd I get here? Yeah. What is my story?
Hey y'all, what's happening? What's happening? It's Robert Kennedy III, RK3. That's me, and welcome back to another episode of the What's My Story podcast, the show where we take people from there to here. Yeah, the lives that you had, the things that you used to do, the things that you used to do. You don't do no more. You know how they say that in church, right? Listen, we just want to explore pivotal moments in people's lives where they are now able to navigate towards their success. So do me a favor. Join me every Monday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time, whatever time it is on the eastern coast of the United States. If you want to have people that you know, if you have influencers, if you have ideas for people that you want to see on the show, do me a favor. Boom, right here. Text me, 410-936-4049. We'll get you on our list. We'll make sure that you know when we're going live, what's happening with us, etc., etc., etc. Do me a favor. Just be obedient and text me, 410-936-4049. If you are a small business owner, coach, consultant, and you want to get greater visibility for yourself and your business, join me in the Storytellers Growth Lab. We share a lot of tips, tricks, tutorials there just to help you up your game, especially in the video storytelling space. So join me, go to storytellersgrowthlab.com, or you can go to Facebook and hit up Storytellers Growth Lab. We'll be there. We'll be there. We'll be there. So what are we going to do today? What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about a story of a young man whose life changed when he moved in with his dad. Now, it's going to be a fantastic story, and I hope that you're watching this, but you're not watching it while you're driving. If you're ready to hear more about this story and you're driving, do me a favor. Turn it off right now. Save it till later, because we've got the audio version coming on Thursday morning, 7 a.m. We do the audio version of this podcast, or you can just go to whatsmystorypodcast.live and you can get the audio version of all of these. So let's do this thing. Let's tell this story today. My guest today is Kris Sykes. He's a health nut. He is the co-founder of the Success Fundamentals podcast. He's a successful financial advisor, and he is a starting defensive back, or was a starting defensive back for East Carolina University. Come on, what's happening? Kris, welcome to the show, my friend.
Robert, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Listen, man, I'm so glad that you're here. I know that we've connected a little bit through your podcast, and we'll be doing a little bit of swapping later on. Can't wait to be on the show with you guys, but I'm really glad for our conversation today. What are you up to right this moment? What's the most exciting thing that's happening in your world right now?
Well, one of the things that I'm doing currently that's exciting me is getting this Success Fundamentals platform off the ground. My co-host Brian Gosak and I figured that it will be really fun to really talk to successful people like yourself and kind of get to the bottom of success and what success actually means for people. because in our minds we asked ourselves, if you meet anybody on the street, or you just meet anybody, you ask them, do you want to be successful? 100% of the time, everybody will say yes, and nobody would
Yeah.
tell you no. So we take a deep dive into that, and not just success on what it means from what the world says is success, but helping you to find it for yourself so you can live the life that you always wanted to live. So that's our mission. That's our journey. That's what's exciting right now.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I think if we go back, I think before the show, we were talking about my former podcast. And one of the reasons I started a podcast myself in the first place was to talk to successful people who I might not be able to just walk up to on the street and ask them
100%.
why you're successful. But we could do that on a podcast and have some really great conversations. So one of the focuses, or the main focus of this show, is really to dive into situations in people's
Absolutely.
lives, right? Where they had to make a choice, or something happened that caused them to pivot or move in a direction that allowed them to be on that success track they are right now. So in your case, your neighborhood or where you were growing up was not necessarily the best or most conducive for success. If you would say, tell us a little bit about that.
No, it was not. I am from College Park, Georgia. So for people who are listening to this podcast who are from Georgia and who are specifically from the city of Atlanta, they know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm from College Park, Georgia, which is the south side of Atlanta. So pretty much, if you know that area, so we grew up off of Old National Highway, actually, and in the area, growing up in that environment, you see a few things. One, in order to be successful, you either had to play sports, you either had to be in some form of entertainment, or the illegal way was the drug game. One of the reasons why it was pivotal for me, because even though I was good in sports, I didn't think that was a possibility living where I was, because of how things transpired. So, for example, I'll give you an example. So, for example, I went to Westlake High School for 3 years. And anybody from in that area, that's where, if you like football, that's where Cameron Newton went to high school. As a matter of fact, we were high school teammates. As a matter of fact,
Wow.
Yeah, we were high school teammates. I did not play when I was at Westlake High School. I want to put that out there. I did not play when I was at Westlake. With
He's like, I was
team.
Cam's favorite receiver.
No, not me.
Yeah.
Not me. I did not see the field. But I went to school. I wasn't actually supposed to go to Westlake High School, right? I was out of district. So we had to, my mom had to do some finagling to get me into that school, because she thought it was great, because we actually had a next door neighbor who went there for sports. He was really, really good in basketball, and she felt that was a good school because a neighbor went there. But at the time, it was a mixed crowd. So you had people who was where I was from went to the school, then you had some people that had better circumstances go to that school. But even though I had some talent in football, I didn't really get to showcase that a lot. One, I did not play. Two, I didn't go to camps. And three, we couldn't afford to go to camps because of where we lived. Right. So, which at least from where I'm from, when you go outside and then you just get attracted to what's outside. So you get to hang around people who are doing things that you think are cool at the time. And then since that's all since that's all you grew up around, you really don't think that you have an outlet or a chance for anything else but this. Because when you go to school, the people who are on the team with you, they would go to those 7-on-7 camps. I ran track too. They would go to, they would be in summer track programs. I didn't do any of that. It was just in season. And then that was it. It was just something to do. So yeah, it was, go ahead.
One of the things that I remember watching the movie Boys in the Hood a long time ago. And one of the things that blew me away was the mindset that there was not anything more than what was available in the neighborhood. And so there was no hope. There was no bigger ambition or no bigger dream for a lot of them. So as you are in this kind of situation, as you are navigating this, do you ever feel like there's something different, or does it ever occur to you that there's something off or something not right or something different about the way that I'm being growing up? Do you see other uh do you see a greater vision or a greater goal for yourself outside of
Right,
this?
right now, or back then.
At that time,
At,
back then.
at that time, growing up, at first you didn't know that this was struggling. You didn't know
Hmm.
because everybody in the neighborhood had experienced the same thing, right? We were,
Right.
either the lights were out or you couldn't, you didn't have any hot water, or so
Wow.
what me and my brother used to do, my sister, we had to rush to do our homework before it got nighttime because there was no lights in the
Mm.
house. And my mom would like light the candles around the house, but that wasn't enough light to do homework at all. So um at the time you would think that this is what life is. As a matter of fact,
Right.
I knew something was different because uh it wasn't always like that. So life's changed for us when I was 9. My sister, Hope, her father passed away when she was 2. He died in a car accident. So up until that point, up until 9 years, we didn't really struggle like that. John had a great job. We didn't really struggle. Even we was in an apartment, in College Park or in East Point at the time, but it wasn't any type of struggle. Now, when I was 9 and when he passed away, that's when everything went downhill. So we progressed and moved into a worse area in the neighborhood, and then you dealt with everything else that was coming with that. Um,
Wow.
so that's when life started to change, and that's how we knew, like, okay, something was up, because we were okay, and then boom, things just started to decline. So at the time we had moved into a house in College Park, so we was in a better area. We was in a subdivision. Um, and then when John died, we moved out the subdivision, and then we moved further. And so we moved from a house uh, to a triplex, a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom triplex.
Right.
Over that time, so that's when we knew, like, okay, this is not normal. Um, and I would go visit my dad, but my dad, so it was funny because it wasn't necessarily abundance. It was more so when I would go visit my dad in the summertime. They live in a more rural part of Georgia. I was in heaven down there, even though it wasn't.
Mm.
I didn't have anything. I mean, I didn't have to worry about anything to eat. The lights were always on, always warm, and I was fine. But when you came back into an area where you see a clear contrast of what your situation is, then you start to question. So
Yeah.
yeah, but also too, representation. When you
Yeah.
growing up, you people with money or who look like you are either in entertainment or in the drug game, or they play
Mm.
sports. So
Wow.
subconsciously, that's what you think that you have to. That's what you have to do to get money, and every other avenue is not really an option, really.
Wow. So you're seeing this expected path for yourself as as you're growing, and then you kind of go to where your dad is and you see something different. When does it begin to occur to you that I don't know, I want something, more, I want something different?
So my dad started putting that bug in my ear when I was in ninth grade. I didn't move with my
Mhm.
dad until I was a junior in high school. Well, actually, I'm a senior in high school. I was just finishing my junior, so I moved. I was officially a senior when I moved with him. So he started putting the idea in my head, and he was in a it was a total opposite. He had money. He had a successful career. Um, but I was just with my mom. That's how the court system go. But um, so he started putting the bug in my ear in ninth grade. And so then at the end of my ninth grade year, I told him, I said, okay, I officially want to move with you because my mom and I don't really have the best relationship. And we used to get into it all the time.
Mhm.
Because as a kid, and you're growing up and you become a teenager and you don't know how to thoroughly express yourself, you become rebellious and disrespectful, if I'm being honest with myself. So we
Mhm.
used to get into it a lot. Of course, she did her things, but I'm not going to get into that. But that's why we used to butt heads.
Right.
So he knew that, and he knew that if I was continue to stay in that environment, then things would go not, wouldn't be ideal for his son. So I told him that I wanted to move with him at the end of ninth grade year. in my 10th grade year, signed all the affidavits. I was it. At the very last minute, I said no. Very last minute.
Wow. Wow.
So
Okay.
he spent all.
So
Go ahead.
so before you jump into the next piece, I want to know why you said no at that point. Okay. But before you go into that, I just want to take a pause for a word from our sponsor.
What's up, fam? It's your boy Kirk Nugent, your live video coach, and I'm excited to share with you our masterclass series. We're going to have masterclasses on StreamYard, Ecamm, and remote production, but we start in October with StreamYard. October 17th from noon to 2 p.m. is when we will have our masterclass on StreamYard. All the functions, all the features, every minute detail, we will pour over them. And I'll also share with you my secret sauce, how I run my shows, and how I run shows for clients. You don't want to miss this. Go to kirkrnugent.com/masterclass to reserve your seat. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. I'm looking forward to engaging with you. We're looking forward to figuring out how it all works.
Yeah, go check out Kirk R. Nugent. Kirk is a master at live streaming and everything that has to come with it. So make sure that you go check it out if you want to get better, if you want to improve, if you want to create more visibility. We talk about visibility in the Storytellers Growth Lab, but you also have to have the tools and know how to operate those tools in a way that you can monetize as well. So check out the masterclass by Kirk R. Nugent. All right. So you get the opportunity to leave where you are, where things are not going so well. You sign the paperwork, and then you say no. What happened?
At the time, we moved into it's a neighborhood in College Park. It's called Castlegate, and that's where we just moved to, which is an even worse area at least at the time. I haven't been there in a long time, but at the time it wasn't a good area at all. We had just made that move, right? Just made that move, and if I'm really being honest with myself, I think it was the fear of the unknown. It's almost like this, right? People say fear of failure all the time. I think that was, I wouldn't say success, but the fear of you can actually have a life that you actually want, and it kind of scares you. So as opposed to you moving, taking that step forward, you remain in the same situation because it's what's comfortable to you, and that's what you know, right? I only knew my dad when I used to go visit with him during the summer times. And I knew that he had the means to take care of me, and I could pretty much do what I wanted to do, maybe from an athletic standpoint. But it was me leaving. I'm the oldest of 6. At the time, my youngest brother Joseph wasn't born, so it was 5 of us. So I was the oldest of 5. Just signed this paperwork to move with my father, and then it was me. And it was me leaving my brothers and sisters. So it was all of that emotion wrapped up into one. My dad spent all this money on lawyers to get me. And then at the last minute, I said I didn't want to go, period.
Wow.
And then at that time, my mom, what she did was use that to take my dad back to the court to get some more child support. And then they almost quadrupled the child support payment. So at the time, she thought that, well, he attempted to get him. He didn't want to go. So boom, I'm going to use that to get more child support money, and the court did it. So that's that. And then that's when that's when things really got unstable with me and my mother, because it was more so that you attempted to leave, you had the opportunity to go, you didn't go, so now I know that you're not going to leave, so then I can pretty much do what I want, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So tell us about what ends up happening now. How do you end up at your dad's, and what begins to take place in your life? Where's the turning point in your life after that?
When I moved with my dad, or before?
What was the turning point that made you decide, yep, now's the time I need to go to my dad's?
Okay, so I remember having a dream one day. Actually, two events happened. The first event happened was the scariest moment of my life. It had nothing to do with me. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. What happened was, so in Castlegate, it was at the time it was in a 2 neighborhood radius. It was 6 gangs there. We had,
Wow.
it was 6 gangs that was around that area, right? So a friend of mine had got into it with one of the gang members that morning for school. Now, mind you, I'm not in the district to go to the same school as them. So what happened was he came back after school and told me, hey, I got into it with so and so, and we were just talking about it, but that was it. So after school, what I used to do, we would come home, I would drop my book back off, and I would go across the street. So I go across the street, and as as the day goes, it gets nighttime, and then we're sitting outside in front of his garage. As we're sitting outside in front of his garage, we see a car just pull up. It wasn't fast or anything. They just came and just stopped in front of the house, and we didn't know who it was. They rolled out the window and they just start shooting up and start shooting at us. Right. So we
Wow.
run into the garage, and I'm sitting behind. He had a couch in the garage. It was a green couch. I go behind the green couch, and I'm just looking at the wall and just seeing bullet holes going through the wall. And I'm just sitting there closing my eyes and I'm praying, like, if I get out this situation, that's it for me. Like I'm leaving. I can't stay in this
Wow.
area, because that was a close call. It had nothing to do with me. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that's what they did. So my mom comes out. She's yelling my name. She's yelling my name. And then I'm thinking that I didn't know if they left or not. So I'm thinking that now they know where whoever Kris is, he stays right there. That's what I'm thinking, right?
Right.
So she started asking me what's going on, what happened. I said nothing. It was just, it was a misunderstanding, whatever. So then I called my dad and said, no, that was the first thing. The second thing was happening. I had a dream. The dream was, once I graduated high school, I was on the corner selling drugs. That was the
Mm.
dream I had. It was so vivid. I woke up that morning, literally called my father and said, I don't care what has to happen. I'm signing everything. I'm not changing my mind. I have to get out of here right now. Seriously.
Wow.
And at first he even had some people on his side. They didn't think that was going to happen. It was like, well, you try to do it the first time, you spend all this money. Why try get him again? Um, and to be honest, if he felt that way, he could have said, well, Kris, I already tried to spend thousands of dollars, and you said no, I don't want to have to go that. I don't want to do that again. But he didn't. He just said okay, and then he started the process. And then at the end of my junior year, I stayed up with, and we actually our that journey started off not rocky at first, because it was a new environment, new situation. I was used to doing some things. He had rules, but
Right.
over time it was extremely pivotal.
Rules, those crazy little things, right? Rules.
For
Wow.
sure.
Yeah. So you navigate this thing, you make it out alive, and you move in
Oh, yeah.
with your dad. How does this now begin to impact your vision for your future? What do you begin to see for yourself at this point?
It was a lot of possibilities, and when I look back, it's a lot of things that he taught me that helps me out in the business world today. So when I first moved with, for example, when you speak, look at somebody in the eye, right? I
Mhm.
always used to talk with my head down. When you walk, have good posture, stand straight up. When you shake people's hands, make sure that it's a firm handshake. Um, you know, take care of your. He used to say this all the time. Take care of what he's to take care of your business. And
Mhm.
when you're younger, he didn't care about anything else. You could play video games, you can go outside with your friends. It's the business taken care of. So back then was, are the chores done? Is the grass cut? Is your homework done? Check, check, check. Okay, yeah, you can play video games, whatever, because the business is taken care of. You'll be
Right.
surprised how you can carry that throughout life when you want to lay around. So for me, I'm a football nut, so I like to watch football on the weekends. But as you get older, you have responsibilities. Before I can enjoy that, I have to make sure the business is taken care of. Or is my week prepared? Did I do X, Y, and Z? Did I do this? Did I do that? If all
Yeah.
of those checkpoints are done, then I can enjoy myself a bit without worrying about what's not complete. Um, being somebody who taught me how to work hard. Not
Mhm.
necessarily work, but have a work ethic. If you're gonna do something, he always used to tell me, if you're gonna do something, make sure you do your best. Or
Right.
why are you even doing it? Like, why would you put your name on something that you didn't do your best on? Because that's how people are going to judge you, based off your quality of work. So
Wow.
it's just a lot of things that he would teach me over time, that as a teenager, when you think you know everything, you don't listen to it. But then as you get older, you realize like this makes so much sense. They make so
Yeah.
much sense, and you can translate that. And their lessons are there to be learned if you're willing to listen, for sure.
Yeah. So now you are in this space where you are a successful financial advisor, financial planner with a lot of different companies and a lot of different individuals. What are some of the lessons, or what's an important lesson that you might, even if you had the opportunity to speak to some of your friends from your old neighborhood, based on where you are right now, what are the two biggest lessons maybe that you would share with them?
It's another way, especially in this day and age.
Mhm.
Um, because and I, the reason why I say that is because I understand the thought process behind that.
Mhm.
Because it's easy to go into a situation and say there's another way when right now things aren't going well from a financial standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Um, right. So it's easy to say, yeah, you can do this. It's another way, X, Y, and Z. But when your lights are off, or you don't have any food, or you don't have any hot water, you don't really want to hear that. You're trying to get money right now to help the family. That's just your mentality. But what I would say to just in general is one of the reasons why Brian and I started this podcast, because when you look at, especially now in this day and age,
Mhm.
you can pretty much, whatever your passion is or whatever you're interested in, you can do something with it and become successful at it. You
Yeah.
started what's my story. Brian and I started Success Fundamentals because everybody wants to be successful, but what they look at as success is on social media. What we're trying to
Mm.
teach you, right? What we're trying to teach you is like, what do you like? You can in this digital age, you can, if you like to make pens, you can turn on the camera, flip it around, and talk about your passion for pens. How did your passion come up? You can put that content out there, and you can
Yeah.
continue to build on that platform. Um, but understanding and defining success for you in this noisy world, and understanding that it's okay if you like whatever the case may be, and you can be successful in doing that. You just have to define it for you, and don't compare your lives to anybody else, because you have no idea what their journey is. And that's just a highlight reel. I know that's cliche, that's what everybody else is saying, but
Yeah.
but success is a personal thing. All right, it has nothing to do with what everybody else is doing. And the thing that you think you want from a publicity standpoint may not be for you, right? Because you don't know what all comes with that. Never ask for anybody else's blessings, because you don't know what their burdens are. So that's the whole
Wow.
thing.
Wow. Wow. So as far as goals, let's talk about that for a moment, because let's end and wrap here, because when you are in the environment that you grew up in,
Hmm.
goal setting might not have been a thing, right? You just kind of
It's not a thing.
you go along to get along, and you do what happens every single day. If you could transmit to somebody else in your old neighborhood about a goal, what are the types of things that you would tell them are possible?
Anything is possible. You just
Hmm.
have to be patient.
Yeah.
So whatever you choose. Will Smith has this great saying. He says, he uses he the example he uses is building a wall. So what he says
Hmm.
is, you don't start out building the wall itself, right?
Right.
You start off laying that one brick as perfectly as you can lay that brick, and you continue to lay bricks, and eventually you look back and you will have a wall. What I would tell people back home, whatever you're interested in, just start. And it's okay if you don't start the way you want to start. For
Yeah.
example, you may have to work at a job to save up to start the thing that you like doing, but start the job. That's the first brick. The job is the first brick.
Yeah.
Saving is the next brick. Third brick is starting to doing the, like, when you have free time, do whatever you want to do or whatever you're passionate about on the side, right?
Hmm.
Um, and on the flip side of that, it's okay if you're not an entrepreneur. Everybody's not
Right.
built to be an entrepreneur. You can have passion and you can have fulfillment by doing
Yeah.
exactly what you're doing currently. So it's okay, right? You just have to define it for yourself, but just lay that first brick, continue to lay those bricks, and 10, 15, 20 years down the line, when you look back, you'll be amazed by what you did, right? And it looks good to you. Just do that and you'll be just fine.
I love it. Where do people get in touch with you to learn a little bit more about what you do and how you serve?
Absolutely. You can reach us on Instagram at Success Fundamentals Podcast. That's where we post all our content. You can listen to our Success Fundamentals Podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Just type in Success Fundamentals and we pop right up. We're also on LinkedIn. We also have a YouTube channel if you'd like to listen to us from, or if you're a visual person like myself. So Success Fundamentals Podcast on all platforms. Find us. If you like what you hear, subscribe and leave us a comment.
Love it. Kris, hang out at the green room for just a second. Let's do this wrap up. So it doesn't matter where you start out. It's about where you end up. If you decide that no matter what your environment looks like, if you decide that you can do better, that you can do greater, that you can do bigger, then all it takes, as Kris said, is taking one brick at a time, stacking those bricks beside each other, stacking them on top of each other. And then ultimately, you'll begin to see what looks like a wall, and maybe not a wall only, but a building. And maybe that building is a cathedral, or maybe that building is a mansion. Whatever it is, whatever you dream, you can do that and you can be that if you'll only start taking and building one brick at a time. Hey, y'all, remember, we say this at the end of every episode. Everything that happens to you in life is your stuff. Your stuff is your story, and your story deserves a stage. We'll see you back here next week for another episode of the What's My Story podcast. How I got from there to here.
My story.